Hi everyone, my name is Sai. Welcome back to the DevOps Bucket. In this video, we are going to discuss about persistent storage for your stateful microservices on Kubernetes. Yeah, managing the data in dynamic environments can be a challenging, but what if I told you there is a seamless solution from AWS? There are multiple solutions. In this video, we are going to discuss about one of them. In this video, we will deep dive into Amazon EKS with the EFS service, showing you exactly how to achieve robust, scalable, persistent storage and simplify your cloud native application architecture. Before we jump into the video, let's quickly understand why we need a persistent storage in Kubernetes. By default, Kubernetes pods are ephemeral in nature. That means whenever you deleted your pod or a container, then the data will be lost. You might all aware of this, right? So whenever we are using a specific applications related to databases or caches or file based storages, so these things should be stored somewhere before we terminate this pod. That means the it should be stateful so that these workloads will not lose its data. But this is a problem in a Kubernetes or a Docker based systems. By default, they will not provide you any of the storages. So that's why it's called ephemeral in nature. So that's where Amazon EFS or any other solutions that provided as a persistent storage will be come into picture here. Currently, we are discussing about Amazon EFS, which gives you this use case. Amazon EFS is basically elastic file system that will have a scalable storage and a shared file system, which can be managed and elastic in nature, and that can be mounted across your multiple pods, even across multiple availability zones, making perfect for the EKS based workloads which can share the same EFS for a multiple pods. High level architecture, we will have one VPC. In this VPC we will have some EKS cluster. With EKS cluster will have the nodes. Inside the nodes the pod will be created. Inside these nodes the pod will be there, and the same VPC we will create one EFS storage, EFS file system, and we will try to mount this EFS file system with the pods, so that this storage will be used for the pods to store its data to make it persistent. Okay, and basically how to do this, because EKS is built on a Kubernetes and EFS is a standalone service, so both of them will not be in the sync. So that's where a driver will comes in between to control the actions. That driver is called EFS CSI driver. EFS CSI driver. Okay, this EFS CSI driver will be deployed as a deployment in the EKS cluster along with your application pods. What it will do, it will take the request from your application, like from your pod, like you have requested a PVC for your persistent storage. So it will take that request and it will go to the EFS, and then it will do the lifecycle actions like mounting and unmounting such things. Okay, whenever you will need to do these actions either dynamically or statically, this EFS CSI driver will sit in between your cluster and the EFS and control the actions. So what required to this EFS CSI driver to these actions, only one thing that extra required is the IAM role. The IAM role, because your cluster should have the permissions to go to the EFS and do some necessary actions, right? So that's where one role we need to create. The role can be IRSA, which is IAM roles for service account, or pod identity agents. So currently we are going to look about IRSA, which is IAM role for service account. So in this case we will need to create one service account and one IAM role and attach both of them in into the EKS cluster and use that in the EFS CSI driver, so that the driver will take that service account and go to the EFS and will do necessary actions whenever we ask it for any storage services. Okay, so this is EKS cluster is active now. Okay, let's go to the add-on section over here, and if you click on get more add-ons, you can able to see EFS CSI driver, because EFS CSI driver is provided by AWS directly for you. If you click this and click on next. Okay, if you see this, there are two options. One is EKS pod identity and one is IAM roles for service account. Today we are discussing about this, but currently there are no service accounts that are being created, right? First let's create this service account. Okay, how to do this? Go to IAM. Okay, and if you do it from a CLI as well, I will share the comments in the description. You can also see that, but currently I am doing in the console quickly to show you how to do these operations. First you need to understand we require an OIDC to connect to the our services, right? So this is an our OIDC cluster. This was presented the cluster, but we need to attach it to our particular cluster from the IAM console as an identity provider. So first we need to go to the identity provider and click on add provider and open ID, and just click here, and audience we need to mention amazonaws.com. Click on add provider. Okay, now we have added the provider. Now we will click on that new provider that we have copied, this one, click on this and click on assign role here. If I click on assign role, it will asking you for create a role or use existing role. I don't have any role, that's why I'm using create new role. Click on next. Here it will automatically choose the options that we have set, and click on next. And here you need to select one policy that was automatically added by the AWS, created by AWS. This is EFS CSI Driver policy. Click this and click on next and set a role name as EFS-CSI role. Okay, and these are the trust policies. So how this OIDC will work, we will discuss this in very detail in the next video. Please keep eye on that. But basically this is a use it for the authentication purpose and authorization purpose. We will discuss this clearly later in the further videos. So I have created this and create a new role. And yeah, my role has been created. Let's go to this EKS cluster and click on add-ons and just click on get more add-ons again and search for EFS CSI driver. Scroll down and click on next. If you see here, I am choosing IAM roles, right? So previously it was not showing here. If you click here, just refresh this. See, now it is coming here. How it is coming? Because I have attached EFS CSI driver and trust policy is having the EKS OIDC, right? So in optional configuration, there are two options. Currently, we are not required to do this because we don't have the already created one, right? So it doesn't matter. We are going with the default configuration. Click on next and click on create. Yeah, we have created the add-on now. Let's wait for a minute to complete its creation. It's in creating state now. As I said, it will be deployed as a deployment in our EKS cluster. See, now it is in active. So that completes our add-on creation. Let's go inside our EKS cluster. Okay, I'm using Cloud Shell here. I will connect to the cluster and show you how the pods are running over there. So let me first go inside the connect to the cluster. AWS EKS update fn kube config fn name and EKS cluster is my cluster name. Right, okay, now it is added. So kubectl get pods fna. If you see this, if you see in the kube system namespace, we have these pods that are running related to the EFS CSI. So what is this node? These are related to the node. These are related to the node. That's why these are works as a daemon set, which will do the lifecycle operations on the node. Because at the end of the day, it should be mounted at the node, and that will be used by the pod, right? So, and these are the controllers which I said, these are the deployment controllers which will be work to control the EFS lifecycle based upon our request. Okay, so then what we need to do, first we need to fix we need to create this EFS CSI driver. Is it a dynamic or it's a static? What is static, what is dynamic? Go to the EFS and just create a file system, and let's put as a test here, and I am selecting the same VPC that my cluster resides in and click on next, create. It will be created in a moment. Okay, if now it is available. Basically, how will you do this in when you want to do it in a mount in a EC2? Just click on this file system ID and you will click on attach. It will show you how you want to mount, but you can't do this for every pod, right? Because it may be dynamic nature. So that's why we are going to use this EFS CSI driver. It will do this operation for us. Okay, so first we need to understand what type of volume we want to create. There are two types of provisioning. One is static provisioning, one is dynamic provisioning. The static provisioning is basically you need to create this file system and provide that file system to your PV. PV is persistent volume resource. And once you create that, you will mount it to the pod by using the request done from the PVC resource. And that PVC is mentioned within the pod. This is called static provisioning, as you have already created one file system and providing it. And whenever you want to create the paths of inside this file system to be dynamically provisioned, whenever you requested a new thing, then we will go with the dynamic provisioning. So dynamic provisioning and static provisioning both requires your file system to be created in the prior, but in the static provisioning you need to give this file system, and this same file system will be utilized for the multiple pods. But if you want to create a dynamic provisioning, you need to create a file system and give it to that particular storage class, and that will create one PV and create one access point over this file system, okay, to access that particular path. Okay, this is what the setup is. Now going into the static provisioning, if we click this, you have seen this, you can see the all steps that was mentioned here. If you see, right, so here we are saying that CSI, and to the CSI properties we are mentioning the volume handle will replaces the file system ID. So, and there's one more option called volume attributes. There are multiple volume attribute section. Okay, so based on this volume attribute, we can decide on which options that it should use while mounting it. So currently we are mentioning that mount target IP. So when you try to mount EFS volume, there are two type of mounting methods. One is via DNS, one is via IP. You can also provide that particular IP over here as well to mount using that particular IP. So where you will get that, you will get from here. If you click on attach, you will click at mount IP. So this is our IP of EFS, right? So like this you need to use any one method you can use, but basically when you didn't provide any volume attributes, it will go for a TNS based thing. Okay, let's take this PV. Okay, let's take this PV and let's create it. So PV underscore test.ml. Let me paste this, and let's take this file system ID, remove this and add the file system ID. This is the file system ID that we want. Okay, I have created the file system ID. If you see, the volume is 5 GB, let's make it 1 GB for now, and read write ones and EFS and volume written, everything is remaining things are same. Okay, let me save this. And to create this, right, we require pod and a PVC, correct? So let's go to this Kubernetes official document of persistent volume to take the examples to test it. We have already created one PV resource, so that is not required for now. But we will take a PVC, persistent volume claim, copy this and go to the cluster mpvc underscore test.ml and paste. See, if you see this, this is read write once and the storage class is manual. If we can remove this for now, and the request storage should be one. This properties should meet with should match with the that PV that we have created here. If you see, this is a read write once, right? Correct. So we are also should use the read write once, and the storage that I am asking for is 1 GB that I have updated. Let me paste this. Let me save it. Okay, so now let's go to the pod.ml and just create the pod.ml and mention this created PVC over there. If you scroll down, you will have the pod, right? You can, I'm copying this and going to here and making it into paste mode again. Okay, so this is the one. So if you see this, if you see the persistent volume claim, it has mentioned as task PV claim. That was the same that we are created as a PVC. If you go here and scroll up to the PVC that we have taken, so this is the name task PV. This was mentioned over here. Okay, over here, and it's using an Nginx image and having this mount point. Storage is mounted at this point. Okay, let's paste. Okay, and let me save this and kubectl. Let's apply everything. Apply -f pv.ml first. Okay, pv underscore test.ml. Okay, then let's apply kubectl apply -f pvc.ml. Okay, then kubectl apply -f, then we can apply pod.ml. Okay, let's check kubectl get pvc. If you see, it's in pending state now. Let's verify why it is in pending state. Let's see pv. Okay, it's available. You see, it is also mentioned as a storage class as EFS SC, but we didn't mention EFS SC over here. Let's edit this to pvc underscore test.ml and mention the storage class. Okay, let's go over here and mention the storage class name. Okay, what is the storage class name? EFS-SC. Let me save this and kubectl apply -f pvc.ml file. Okay, now it's configured. Let's check get pvc. See, now it is bound successfully, right? That means the property should match. That's what I'm saying. Then kubectl get pods. Now it isn't running. Let's go inside the pod to understand this. Kubectl exec fn it task fn pv fn pod fn bash. Okay, now we are inside the pod, right? Let's show you the df-h. If you see here, right, so this is the file system at the slash path. Okay, let's also go inside the node to see what there as well. If I'm going, let me go outside of this pod now. Let me check kubectl get pods -o wide. See, it is at 127.154 IP. Okay, that means 22.95 IP. Let me open this. Let me go inside this node and check, and there also we can check DFFNH. See what happens. Okay, now I am inside the node. Let me check DFFNH. If you see this, right, so these are the see, this is the path that we are connecting to this EFS PV mount. So basically it should mount at the node level and then it is mounted at the pod on particular node. Okay, now let's go and do a dynamic provisioning. Dynamic provisioning means we require to create a storage class, not a PV. Let me delete the PV. Delete -f PV underscore test .yaml file. Now, okay, now everything has been cleaned up. If I see get PV, okay, no PV, no PVC, no pod, right? Okay, now let me go to the storage class. Now this time storage underscore class dot yaml file. Okay, here what I want to do, I want to create dynamic provisioning. So instead of static provisioning folder, I am just moving it to dynamic provisioning. If I click dynamic provisioning, you see the specs. Storage class. If you see, this is the example. I am taking this. Okay, I am pasting over here. Okay, if you see this, right, EFS SC is the storage class name and provisioning mode is this, and here we need to replace our file system. What is our file system here? And take from copy this here, and we are creating the access point configurations. What is the group ID? What is the base path that we want for dynamic provisioning inside the file system? Everything. Okay, subpath pattern is also there. We don't require these things. Okay, these are optional for now. Okay, I am removing, I am keeping till this and paste. Okay, now let me apply this kubectl apply -f storage class. So now storage class will create a PV, right? So PVC I need to apply because I am using same storage class name EFS -sc. So that's why I am using the same pvc.yaml file. Okay, and I'm also applying same pod kubectl apply -f pod.yaml file. Okay, now let's check kubectl get PV. See, one PV is created, right, and it's a bound state. How it created? It created by our storage class. If you see get PVC, see this has been bounded for 1 GB. If how to confirm again, let's go inside the pod again using the same command exec-it .bash and df-h. See this is again mounted, right? FS now see what makes a difference for dynamic and static. Let me refresh this and go to this volume. If you go to the access points, see one access point has been created. So this is called dynamic provisioning. How this is dynamic provisioning? Because the same file system will exist within the file system. It will create a multiple access points based on the paths and the that volumes that you have created. If you want to reuse the same access point, we can make this option enable to true, reuse access point. Okay, and you want different path, you can make this as a base path as a different. Like that, you need to create a dynamic and static provisions using this PVC and PV and storage classes using the EFS CSI driver. I hope you understand the concept, how to create the PV and PVCs and using the EFS CSI driver, and how to create IAM roles required for it, and how to do the operations. If you found it helpful, please like this video and share with your friends who want to learn more about the DevOps practices and cloud practices. Thanks once again. Bye.